January 2024 meeting of Tennessee Real Estate Commission at 8:30 a.m. I'm going to start by asking our Executive Director, Ms. Denise Baker, to do the public disclaimer, please, and roll call.
Good morning and Happy New Year. Notice of the January meeting of the Tennessee Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since September 15th, 2023. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Friday, January 5th, 2024. Individuals who wish to make a public comment on an item listed on the posted agenda during the scheduled public comment period will need to sign in on the provided sign-in sheet or by placing their name in the chat box online. It is requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes out of respect for other speakers. At this time, I'll call the roll. Chair Diaz.
Here.
Vice Chair Ferris.
Here.
Commissioner Moffitt. Commissioner Begley. Commissioner Torbett.
Here.
Commissioner Gwynn.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Tucker.
Here.
Commissioner Gahn. Thank you.
By my count, that constitutes a quorum.
Yes, sir.
Thank
we
you.
have a quorum.
Okay, and now I'll ask Commissioner DJ Ferris to do the prayer and pledge for us this morning.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day you've set aside as we come before this body to conduct business for the state. Lord, you have laid out where our state is, the mountains and the rivers, the bounds of Tennessee, and you've made our days all out before us, and may we honor you in everything we say and do today. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda for today's meeting?
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Is there a second? Second. I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ferris, seconded by Commissioner Smith to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. On to the approval of the minutes. Any amendments or changes to the minutes of last month's meeting? I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Torbett to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. At this point, we'll move to informal appearances. Our first are all the candidates and their brokers present.
Those who are here for the informal appearances, I'm going to call roll for you guys. Do we have Randall Price and his principal broker, John C. Jones? Let the record reflect Randall Price nor John C. Jones, neither one are present. Next, we'll move on to candidate B, Samantha Anderson and her principal broker, Cheryl Somerville. Are you all present?
Yes. Yes, excuse me.
Thank you. We'll move on to candidate C. Do we have Christian Monday and his principal broker, his or her principal broker, Mark Goodson? Is Christian Monday? Mr. Goodson, is Christian Monday with you? I'm not sure who's sitting next to you. If you could unmute yourself, Mr. Goodson. Can you? Ooh. Okay.
Okay. No.
Okay. It looks like they left and came back in. It looks like they couldn't hear us. And then lastly, we have Mr. Scott Newman and his principal broker, Mike Gann. Are you all here with us today?
Present.
Okay. Thank you. We'll begin with candidate B, Ms. Samantha Anderson, and her principal broker, Cheryl Somerville. Ms. Anderson is before us today due to a misdemeanor theft. She has taken and passed the affiliate broker's exam, and Ms. Anderson's statement and letters of recommendation can be found on your iPads.
Okay, so for all the candidates that are listening, we are going to hear from both the candidate and their principal broker sequentially. After the candidate speaks, commissioners will be given an opportunity to ask questions. And then after the principal broker speaks, the commissioners will also be given a chance to ask questions. After questioning is done, we will vote on your application and we'll see how it turns out. So at that point, Ms. Anderson, you can make sure you're unmuted and please tell us what brings you to it before us today.
I am here hopefully to be given a chance to become a real estate agent. A decision that I made, almost 10 years ago at this point, has greatly affected my life, and I'm hoping now that enough time has passed that I have proven my honesty and just being able to be given a chance to have a shot with this career, and yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Ms. Anderson?
So when did this happen? I see the judgment was in 2014. Was it before 2014 or did it happen in 2014?
It happened in 2014. The judgment was, I can't remember exactly. It was only about a month or so prior to that. They were pretty quick with the court hearing and all of that.
All right, thanks.
And a question for counsel, is paying the fine just is an admission of guilt, so that's why she's before us today?
Will you repeat your question, please, sir?
Just wondering if the fact that she paid the fine, is that an admission of guilt and that counts as it's a misdemeanor?
I think it's due to theft that she's before us today.
Okay. Ms. Somerville, please tell us why you'd like Ms. Anderson to join your firm.
Well, I've seen just in the short while that I've known her what a hard worker she is. She has 3 children. She's a great mom. And over the last 15 years, she's been working in the service industry. It's just due to a mistake when she was really young. I think we've all made mistakes when we're really young. And she's learned from it, and I think she'd be a wonderful asset to the real estate industry.
Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Somerville? Hearing none, I sense you're ready to vote. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion approved by this candidate by Ms. Torbett, seconded by Ms. Tucker, that this candidate be approved. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Ms. Anderson, and good luck. You're free to listen to this meeting if you want, or you can go about your day.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Take care. All right, I believe we got Mr. Monday next.
Yes, next we have candidate C, Christian Monday, and his principal broker, Mark Goodson. Are you all able to hear us at this time?
I can hear you now. Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Monday is here before us due to a felony marijuana charge. His statements and letters of recommendation can be found on your iPad. Mr. Monday has taken and passed the timeshare salesperson exam.
All right, Mr. Monday, please tell us what brings us before us this morning.
I apologize. I'm really nervous. I'm here to try to attempt to forward my career. I've been with the company for a while, and this is the next step in my process. And I was coming to you all before the board to see if it was possible to continue forward in my career.
And could you describe for us the circumstances of your offense and
the circumstances? I was young and made bad decisions. Since then, I've got a family, and I'm just trying to work and not let that be something that defines me, and grow from the opportunity just to have a second chance.
Questions for Mr. Monday?
Mr. Monday, this is Commissioner Ferris. Thanks for being here today. And Mr. Goodson, thank you as well for joining us. Mr. Monday, the application says that you suffered a medical emergency and called 911 for help, and the police arrested you for possession of marijuana and guns. Can you explain more what surrounded that occasion?
Yeah, so I've gotten divorced for a while, and I got put on medicine, and nothing really worked, and I've had tried like medical marijuana, and it worked for me, and so that's what I was using it for, and it just was a mistake, honestly, because it just caused me more trouble than harm than good, and it's just like kind of a last resort thing, because I tried like every medicine in the book, and it just wasn't really working for me, but it seemed like nothing. It was all a mistake, just to be frank with you. But
Counsel, on his order of deferral, it says he's under supervision until close to the end of June this year.
yes, sir.
Is that any kind of impediment to him moving forward, or?
No, it just means that like it'll be after June, the diversion will be completed, and so he's free to participate in work.
So if this had happened after June, would we know about it at all?
He wouldn't have to appear before us.
Okay.
Other questions for Mr. Goodson? Please tell us about Mr. Monday and why you would like him to be a part of your timeshare business.
I've known his family for about 10 years. I've worked for Wyndham for 10 years. I've known his mother, and actually I've worked with Christian here. I mean, it's a good family. It was a mistake that he experienced as a younger person, and I think he's going to be. And since I've worked with him, he was in a different role, but he was responsible, he was reliable, dependable. So I think he'll make a great addition to the team.
Questions for Mr. Goodson? Hearing none, I sense you're ready to vote. Is there a motion?
Second.
I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Gwynn and seconded by Commissioner Tucker to approve this candidate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Monday, and good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mr. Candidate D?
Yes, thank you. We're on candidate D. We have Mr. Scott Newman and his principal broker, Matt Gann. Mr. Newman is before us today due to a disciplinary sanction by the North Carolina State Bar. His statement and letters of recommendation can be found on your iPad. To my knowledge, Mr. Newman has not taken the Tennessee real estate exams yet, however, would be required to do so.
Okay. Mr. Newman, you kind of saw how this went. Please tell us about the circumstances that bring you before us today.
Sure. I've been licensed as an attorney since 1994, and my area of practice has focused in real estate for about 20 of those years. And back in September of 2021, our office was hacked, and I've since discovered that it was called a man-in-the-middle attack, where someone had somehow intercepted an email from a client regarding wiring instructions, and that never made it to us. And then the hacker sent us email instructions to my assistant, Karen Armour, and pursuant to that, she sent out a wire for $750,000. We discovered it the next morning. I took immediate steps, contacted the State Bar, contacted my liability carrier, contacted the FBI, and very grateful to all of them because they were able to get all but $4,000 back. I was prepared to sell all my assets in order to make the client whole. However, it was only a $4,000 deficiency, and I was able to do that. And since then, we do not send any wires whatsoever unless someone signs an affidavit under notary, stating that this is in fact the wiring instructions. Now that may be inconvenient to some clients, but it doesn't matter, because what does matter is that their funds will be available like they should be.
Is there any questions for Mr. Newman? Hearing none, and I'll just make a comment. I mean, you know, the thing about getting hacked is that they're very good at what they do, and they're very good at not being detected. I mean, it just seems like this is something that could happen to anybody, but I understand the Board of Professional Responsibility sanctioning you for that. And was very impressed by the measures that you put in place afterward. So I just want to thank you for that, and open it up to anybody else that has questions. Hearing none, Mr. Gann, please tell us about Mr. Newman and why you would like him to be part of your business.
Yes, I've known Mr. Newman for about 2.5 years now, personally before this, but also one of my office's top producing agents. He's one of her clients, helped him with multiple transactions, spoke very highly of him then. You know, just with interactions with him, just his knowledge of real estate, the processes, all of those things, you know, we just think he would be a great asset to the real estate community, but also more specific, you know, our brokerage. You know, his plan is to join the team. You know, we've talked about how, you know, obviously wire fraud is a huge ordeal right now with agents, title companies, et cetera. And, you know, obviously he understands how big a deal that is. And, you know, we would just love to have him here at the brokerage.
So just tell me about your business both in North Carolina and Tennessee and among other states, or is it just Tennessee?
We are Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. We're in Chattanooga, so we're Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama.
Okay.
He was an attorney in North Carolina, but he has moved to Chattanooga. He lives in Chattanooga most of the time now.
Okay, but
yeah.
Would you consider Chattanooga your principal residence, Mr. Newman?
Absolutely. I'm here at least 6 days a week.
Okay. More questions for Mr. Newman or Mr. Gann? I sense you're ready to vote. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Torbett, seconded by Ms. Smith, to approve Mr. Newman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Mr. Newman, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good day.
You too.
I just want to give another moment to candidate A. It appears that Mr. Randall Price and his principal broker, John C. Jones, are not present for this meeting, so we will defer them to another time if he wishes to appear during the informal appearance period. I would also like to make a note that Commissioner Begley was seated at 8:35 and was involved with the other 3 votes that took place this morning.
Thank you. Oh, we do have a waiver request.
Yes, we have one waiver request this morning. Ms. Ehrman is seeking a waiver of penalties due to medical care. Ms. Ehrman's license expired on November 1st, 2023. She contacted Trek offices around December 16th. She finished her CE, her 16 hours of required CE, on December 10th, 2023. Her written request and doctor's note can be found on your iPad.
Do you have any questions, comments, thoughts, commissioners?
Just to confirm, this is Mr. or Mrs. Ehrman?
I believe it's Miss Adam Ehrman, but I'm not 100% certain. I believe it's Miss.
Document Mr.
Let me double check. I did not speak with her directly. It is a gentleman, Mr. Ehrman.
There are no comments. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the waiver.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the waiver for Mr. Basil Adam Ehrman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. The motion was by Commissioner Ferris, seconded by Commissioner Corbett. One sec.
Also want to put on the record, I apologize, Mr. Airman. I misread my document. Thank you.
Moving on. Our education report. Mr. Ross, what do you got for us today?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, and Happy New Year, everyone. I really appreciate you. I've got before you today the real estate education agenda. On your iPads, I would all the new items. A1.
Are there any classes that commissioners would like to specifically discuss? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move to accept these courses, J1 through 49.
I have a motion to approve courses J1 through J49 by Commissioner Ferris, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. I think you got two instructors for us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Instructors, yes.
Questions about these candidates? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve these candidates by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. On to the Executive Director's report. Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Ross. We have quite a lengthy report. If you were to look on your iPads at the Executive Director's report, we are nearing 50,000 licensees. And so we are just around the corner from 50,000 licensees here in the state of Tennessee. You will also see the pass-fail rate for exams taken in the month of December. As well as the open and closed complaint report. I have several announcements. The Tennessee Next Summit is on February 20th. Will all commissioners be present at that summit? You're not sure.
What's the date?
It's February 20th. It's either at 1 or 2 o'clock after our commission meeting.
Planning on being there.
Will anyone be absent? Let me ask that question. I know you're a maybe. Okay.
I'm assuming you're asking.
Yes.
Asking because of the TREC.
Correct. Correct. Because of the TREC panel. Correct.
Panel.
Yes.
Which usually lasts an hour or less.
Correct. We are scheduled for an hour.
What time?
It's either at 1 or 2 o'clock. I believe it's at, hold on, let me double check. I actually have it written down. It is at 1 o'clock at the Embassy Suites on Demonbreun.
708 Demonbreun Street.
Okay. I also want to make note that Chair Diaz has been reappointed to another term. So congratulations, Chairman Diaz. His term will expire June 30th, 2028. Staff is making arrangements to attend the Arello Conference in New Orleans. Are there any commissioners that want to go? Because we will need to know today. I see none. Okay, very good. You will also find on your iPads PSI reports for 2021, 2022, and 2023. I have reviewed all these reports. They appear to be accurate, and I just want to make sure that they're on the record. In 2021, there were 24,627 exams taken across the state of Tennessee. In 2022, there were 25,438. And in 2023, there were 23,570. with an average over the 3-year period of 24,545 exams taken across the state. That includes the state national exams as well as timeshare salesperson and acquisition agent exams. Are there any questions in regards to the updated and corrected PSI reports for that period? Okay, thank you. Moving on, we have TREC audits. TREC will now be performing audits. Alyssa Zamora has been hired to conduct audits of real estate firms in addition to other duties within the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance. Within the next 30 to 60 days, TREC will resume audits. Firms will be selected using a randomizing feature in one of TREC's computer programs. She will be looking at escrow accounts, rosters, E&O, and license verification for firms within the state of Tennessee. We anticipate her auditing between 12 and 20 firms across the state every month. That is a moving target. We're going to use the first few months to create a baseline to see how long an audit takes. And so hopefully by July 1, we'll have a rigorous program moving forward, and we'll have set benchmarks for audits throughout the state. Yes, sir. I can't really speak to that. I do know there hasn't been an audit completed prior to or since I've been here. So since August, none.
Thanks.
So what are going to be the mechanics of any detected violations or anything like that? Is she going to report those, and those are going to be opened administratively?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And are they on the same clock as other complaints? Or
yes.
So 120?
Yes.
Okay.
Are these in-person audits?
No, ma'am. Alyssa Zamora, and I may be pronouncing her name, and I am so sorry if you're listening. She started in December. She has several other program areas. She's a business analyst here at the Tennessee Department of Commerce and Insurance. So she's not just a TREC employee. She's serving several program areas within the department. Next, we have the March Commission meeting discussion. There have been talks in the past of postponing that meeting till April and have that and allow that to be a gauge if we are going to move to every other month. I think this is a perfect opportunity to test that, being that this room will undergo improvements. I'm not going to say renovation, but improvements in the month of March. We would have to find another location if you guys decided to meet, but this is open for discussion if you guys want to I don't want to say necessarily skip, but postpone the March meeting and just meet in April.
So looking back at the number of cases year to date, March in 2023, doesn't seem like there were that many on the docket or that many complaints that we had to do. So I might dividing the March and April meetings into one and just meeting in April.
I second that emotion.
Can we possibly get a motion?
Can I say something first?
Sure, go ahead.
I like the idea of skipping it or postponing it due to the renovations in the room, and that being a reason, and then we look at it.
Yes. Yes, this is not going forward. This is strictly for the month of March.
Our experiment.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we postpone the March meeting and combine it with the April meeting.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to postpone the March meeting and postpone it until April. That's by Mr. Commissioner Bagley, second by Commissioner Ferris. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all. I have one last thing. We're supposed to meet in May in West Tennessee, and we are looking for recommendations of locations for our May meeting in West Tennessee, which is a requirement that we not only meet in West Tennessee, but we meet in East Tennessee as well. So typically in the spring, we go to West Tennessee. Are there any recommendations for a location for us to meet in West Tennessee?
I've been in touch with the Memphis Area Association of Realtors. They have at least are willing to discuss hosting the meeting at their offices in Memphis and planning it further. My intention is to put in touch with Aaron Smith to work out the logistics and to see if that site is indeed will meet our needs in terms of public disclosure and availability, and we'll see if we can go forward. But my intention is to talk to them after this meeting further and connect the two of them so they can work it out.
Very good. We'll definitely be in contact with them. Are there any other locations that anyone else would like to consider? Okay, we will reach out to the Memphis Area Association of Realtors and in reference to the May meeting to get that on the schedule. That concludes my executive director's report. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Just received a text from Addison, and she says the TREC panel will be at 2 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock.
Very good. Thank you. The panel is at 2. I have it incorrect on my calendar. I guess that's what time I want to be there by.
Ms. Baker, I just wanted to, going back to the counts of licenses and things like that.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can include the number of licenses that were surrendered, retired, expired, things like that, so we can know what our, I guess, for lack of a better term, our birth and our death rate is?
So you would like to see suspended, retired, and
not necessarily suspended, but
okay.
Expired,
okay.
retired, surrendered.
There are tens of thousands of expired licenses.
Yeah, because I figured there were, but I just like to see the comparison. You said we're on a threshold of 50K
of active
licenses.
licensees.
I want
Yes.
to see how many licenses are also going inactive. I guess that's a better way
Okay.
to say it.
So you would like to see suspended, retired, expired, or you do want to see expired?
I just want to see kind of what the.
There will literally be tens of thousands because if you take into consideration, this goes back to 1950
I mean, just for the year?
or 60s or
No. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want like
So-
ever in the history of the
Okay,
Tennessee Real Estate
okay.
Commission. I just want month to month.
Month to month. Okay.
Just a comparison.
Okay. So surrendered, retired, and expired month to month. Are there any other metrics you would like to see next month?
Question.
I've got one thing to add to the list,
Yes.
possibly. We've talked about it before, and I can't tell you the exact name of the fund. It may be something like the education fund that builds up money to help people. And we've had a case or two on it along the way, maybe in the last 12 months. And it seems like we asked for some information about that, and I can't remember if we ever got anything, but it would seem like we could track it as like, here's the amount at the end of January, here's how much I think money hits it every month or at some point during the year. So it's a buildup of funds, and it seems like it's kind of like a balance sheet item, and there's nothing on here that I see. Maybe I'm missing it.
You are not missing it. I just
Okay.
got that report maybe Monday or Tuesday, and you guys have
excellent.
already received this. I know there's at least $500,000 in there because that is what is required. But I will have that report in the February Executive Director's report.
Perfect.
Is
Thank
that
you.
is that the education fund or is that the recovery fund?
I believe that's the recovery fund. Is that
Recovery
what
fund.
you're?
Okay.
Is that what you're referencing?
Yes.
The recovery
yes.
fund.
Yes.
I think I recall a little bit of what he's trying to get at. I think we had somebody come before us to try to make a claim against it at one point, and I think we deferred it in some action. I think this was prior to your time, but I think we deferred it in some mannerism. I think it was unclear what the mechanics are in terms of administrating and finding or paying out a claim against it. So I think there was, because it's a little used aspect of our jurisdiction here. So I think there were questions about in what circumstances can we rule in favor of a claim or against a claim, and I don't think we ever finished that loop because I don't think they came back and tried to press their
What we
plan?
can do during the February meeting is have a little refresher in reference to that fund during the executive director's report, and I'll get assistance for legal to give us all that refresher.
Commissioners, anything else for our director?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
On the Tennessee Real Estate School summary, and I'm not sure, Ms. Baker, if that's you or Ross, but what is the Tennessee Real Estate Commission? Is that?
That's a great question. That is for people who are transferring in, so they are not necessarily required to attend real estate school.
Okay.
They may be coming from another state where they took a class, but because of the type of class and how long they've been in the industry, they weren't required to come to this state and sit through the 60-hour pre-licensing course.
Okay, thank you.
Great question. I asked the same question a few months ago. Thank you.
Any other questions of Ms. Baker? Hearing none, you concluded your report.
Yes, I now conclude the executive director's report.
Next item on the agenda is the legal and consent report.
One moment. I believe it's public comment, if I'm not mistaken.
That you're right. All right, so yes, next portion is the public comment period. As stated earlier, this is for members of the public to speak before the Tennessee Real Estate Commission for 3 minutes at a time. Is there anybody online or gathered here today that would like to speak?
There is no one online, and I don't believe we have anyone signed up for the public comment period, so we may close that period.
I will close the comment period and move on. Oh. No, I think it's customary for us to take a break at this moment. Commissioners want to take a break?
A recess.
That again?
We're taking a recess.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and recess until 9:15.
Very good. Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda, just picking it up, would be the legal and consent agenda. I believe there were a number, maybe I'm the only commissioner that pulled cases. Okay. Read off the cases that I'd like to discuss further.
I might add one or two if they're not.
Duplicated.
Yeah.
All right. So the cases that I'd like to discuss further are cases 19, 21, 24, 27, 29, 30, 38, 44, and 53. In addition to those, council has set aside a couple of cases to discuss. I have those cases as also case 31 and 34. Are there any other cases commissioners would like to pull?
I'd like to discuss number 12.
First.
One moment here. Let me double check. I'm 49 and 52. And 15.
Council, you don't want me to read those, or? Okay. Any other cases, commissioners? Hearing none, is there a motion? I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation on the cases that were not listed for further discussion. Is there a second? The motion is seconded by Commissioner Bagley. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 12. Commissioner Gwen.
Yes. The way I'm reading this is a complaint from a CPA claiming that someone in a brokerage firm was practicing preparing tax returns. Is that the way I'm reading this?
That's incorrect.
Okay.
Was a CPA number one was the respondent was their client, provided documents to the first CPA to prepare a return, and also to get some documentation together for some financing. CPA number one looked at this return, had some concerns, knew who the preparer was on this return, and so contacted CPA number two, who was with the firm that allegedly prepared this tax return. So there was no, there
were no real estate people
practicing tax preparation.
return.
No, sir.
Okay. So why are we referring this to the IRS then? What is that about?
The complainant is CPA number two, who got what looks like a fraudulent return. They had concerns because there were many questions on the return, or that raised questions. I had a lengthy discussion with that CPA, and they felt like because it is a licensee of this commission, and they had some concerns that there was some potential fraud in the financing part of it, that they had a duty to report it to you all. I explained that I appreciated that, that we are restricted in some things that we can do, but that, however, at this point, the best course of action that I could see would be to refer it to the proper authorities, which would be the IRS. I don't know that they've done anything wrong, but there's enough that someone else who does have that authority and that expertise needs to look at it. It's not us.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Move to approve council's recommendation.
Motion to accept council's recommendation in case number 12. Is there a second? Have a quick. Motion was put forward by Commissioner Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Tucker to accept council's recommendation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 15, Commissioner Ferris.
I agree with council's recommendation, but I would recommend that the fine be $500 instead of $1,000 in case number 15. So I'd move that the civil penalty be $500 for failure to supervise.
I have a motion to reduce council's recommendation from $1,000 to $500 for failure to supervise. Is there a second? Motion is seconded by Commissioner Gwynn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 19 is mine. This was a case of one question I had was, did the respondent inform Trek of their conviction as required?
The respondent did not notify the commission. However, the conviction is not one of the listed offenses for which a notification is required.
Very good, thank you. Is there a motion for case number 19? I have a motion to be approved by Commissioner Torbett. Is there a second? I have a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye. Any
opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 21. We're gonna be with me for a while here. So this is the case where principal broker is saying, a new principal broker that wasn't present for that firm in this case, is saying that the affiliate broker was broker released prior to. Am I wrong on that one? Case 21.
Correct. No, this principal broker was the affiliate's principal broker at the time that they. Well, they're saying that they weren't, but we did not have notification that they weren't. Yes, sir.
I thought it was, but I don't think so.
It's not. No.
So my question was, do we have a corresponding form for that affiliate if they landed at a new firm?
I do not know. Let me double check that.
I can see that principal broker's position. He's like, I have a form. It's signed and dated. And I get the transmission and the reception part.
have a remark while you're looking that up. In my notes about this case number, I had made a note to just dismiss it after we discussed it, unless something changed my mind. But it says that when respondent I just feel like the respondent, once he got the consent, once they received the consent order in September of 21, they called and spoke with the staff member who assisted the respondent in filing the release form. I just think it's okay to dismiss this.
The issue is that we did not have the release form until September. Signed and dated it, they say, December of 2020, but we did not receive it.
So do they owe 200 or 400?
They owe 200.
So this was like a administrative clean up the books kind of thing. And
It is, yes.
But they need to pay the fine for the E&O is all for 200. That's all? Is a question? Okay, that's what I still want to see that happen. And then I thought there was something else was it against no, I'm sorry. I'm confused. I'm thinking this was also against their broker. Never mind. They should still pay the fine.
So
That is my position.
Okay, so the rules, they make no distinction between if you don't receive that release and it's not received and marked received by TREC, then whether the affiliate lands at a new firm, that's not dispositive.
The
or
rule
anything.
states that when we receive the TREC Form 1, then that is when the principal broker's supervisor responsibilities terminate.
As Commissioner Grease would say, we could do whatever we want to do. And
the chair will entertain a motion.
Yeah, the part of me that was like, I'm refreshing my memory now. Like this is 2 years hence. Just this doesn't appear to be affecting any consumer. I was kind of on the mind to just dismiss it and let's clean it up and get it off the books. But I will listen to what my colleagues say here.
so the amount owed is 200. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So if we say we want we're finding you, or we've already said that we've already billed them 200, and they say they don't want to pay. So if we go back and say you owe us 200, and they say we don't agree with that, then we have a hearing over $200.
And that sometimes is necessary. Because it is an E&O matter, it would go before an ALJ. It would not come back before the commission, which is why I felt comfortable presenting it to you all and having a discussion in depth about it. As I said in the report, the respondent is adamant that they should not have to pay this. Part of the delay, I would point out to the commission in this moving forward, is that we did have former counsel. That was the counsel. Between respondent, daughter, have to move forward.
Make a motion.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I move that we reduce the fine to $100 and see what happens.
For a second. That motion fails on the lack of a second.
Give it another try.
I make a motion that we stand by our decision of the $200 penalty to be paid within 60 days. Is that our normal time frame?
Once the consent order is issued, they have 30 days to pay, or it goes into litigation status. Yes, ma'am.
That's my motion.
Motion to sustain the fee at $200. Is there a second? I have a motion. It's been by Commissioner Smith to maintain the fee at $200 by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none, essentially ready to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I have 6 ayes and 1 no. Commissioner Ferris voting no. Moving on to case number 24. So this is the case where the complaint is filed against the affiliate broker, and the affiliate broker didn't respond, but the principal broker did. And my understanding is normal process is that the affiliate broker would have received a notification, and they didn't join the principal broker's response.
Correct.
And their obligation is still to respond on their own behalf. Okay. I have no disagreement with council's recommendation.
I move to accept council's recommendation for case 24.
That recommendation is to dismiss.
Second.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Ferris to dismiss this case, seconded by Commissioner Gwen. Any further discussion? The one thing that is standing out in my mind is the affiliate broker's decision not to respond. And my further complaint is to the principal broker not advising their affiliate of their obligation to respond independently. And I'm having a hard time looking past that.
Do I understand it, counsel, that the respondent had a separate complaint and responded to that one, and in the response to that, they also denied any wrongdoing with regards to this complaint?
Did. That is when, in that conversation regarding, much later regarding these two complaints, the respondent indicated, well, I did have that other one that came up, and my principal broker took care of that. They let me know that they had responded, which only reason I could see there was was indeed a response from both the principal broker and the principal broker's attorney.
Not the affiliate.
But not the affiliate, and the affiliate didn't see the response, so did not know the nature of the response. So there was some bad communication going on here both ways.
But don't I understand that the respondent denied any
Trek.
The respondent, in their response to the second complaint, which was also dismissed, did deny wrongdoing in the first complaint, and I know that we have in the past allowed one response to multiple complaints.
Yeah, I think this is not a case in which the respondent is totally checked out and avoiding and not responding, and communication at its best is poor generally. So I just believe we can dismiss this in this instance. Why I support the motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor of accepting council's recommendation to dismiss, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion passes on a 7-1 vote. I vote no. 6-1. I vote no. On to case number 27. So this one, I don't really have a problem with council's recommendation on this one. I just think this is another example of this dispersed brokerage model where we have that we see across the state now, where you have a principal broker, let's say in Murfreesboro and he's got affiliates in Memphis and affiliates in Kingsport and whatnot, where, you know, broker doesn't want to travel 4 hours to show a property. I get that. But, you know, you don't have to accept every client. You don't have to. I just think this is just another symptom of a larger issue in terms of brokers servicing their clients. So I just wanting commissioners to think about that. But I'll entertain a motion.
I would also, your remarks have stirred up a thought that I've had that might bear, I think it's owing to share this now, is something I've seen in my practice is make sure you are a expert in the jurisdiction or the area in which you practice real estate. I've had instances where people have called and said, hey, could you help me buy a house in Gatlinburg? And I'm saying, I can. Legally, I can, but I cannot because I'm not qualified. I don't know it's just not my area of expertise. So I'm not saying that that's the case here with this complainant and or this respondent. So just a word of advice for practitioners out there is to do a good job where you are at and where you can best help those nearest you.
This reminded me of a case we had not long ago where someone had Zoomed and they had left out a little portion. Remember when the complaint was that they didn't show some stuff to the left or the right. So, I mean, you can get in trouble by, you know, what you think is important and what I think is important are two different things. So I don't disagree with this person for not participating at all.
I move to accept council's recommendation to dismiss case 27.
Motion to dismiss case 27 by Commissioner Ferris, seconded by Commissioner Bagley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 29. My question has been answered for case number 29, so I'll go ahead and entertain the motion. I have a motion to accept council's recommendation to dismiss by Commissioner Torbett, seconded by Commissioner Bagley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
I want to say thank you for putting the numbers beside the case number. That's really helpful when we read these.
Case number 30. This is a case where the licensee, I guess, has a number of businesses operating, and they wanted, it seemed from their pattern of behavior that they wanted branch offices or franchise offices, and they didn't license all of their locations appropriately.
Yes. So in this situation, the respondent has a firm, and then they have a second, I guess, entity, but it was unclear if they were trying to get an entity within the same firm under the same license, or it's supposed to be two separate entities, which would require a separate license for like the property management situation. They kind of provided, based off the documents that the respondent provided, and I reviewed, it looked like all of the different businesses, they wanted to be under one location. They had the same address. And so it was just kind of like a confusion as to what exactly they were trying to do, whether they're trying to market themselves as a team or two separate things that kind of just work together. And so my suggestion was a letter of warning just to kind of have them separate that out.
Is it your sense that from their activity and their choices, are they trying to be evasive, or was it ignorance? Was it, what do you think? What's your opinion?
I don't believe they were trying to be evasive. They had like some articles of incorporation. I believe from their perspective, they believed that they had done everything they're supposed to do to get their licensing together, but it wasn't registered with TREC. And so it was like kind of like a toss-up whether they were trying to say like we're all one entity, one address and like one company kind of.
So what did they settle on then? Are they one entity having different business lines, or are they separate entities that are collaborating?
It is the firm, and then they have a property management branch of the firm.
A property management branch needs to be licensed.
Correct.
Separate.
And they do not have a license for the property management branch of that.
How do y'all feel about the letter of warning?
It's going to explain to them what they need to do with a second license.
Yes.
And does that letter of warning give them a time frame to clear this up?
I would put a time frame in it, but if you would have a suggestion on like a specific time frame, I can add that language in there.
Ms. Baker, is that the mechanics of that is it's all online? They apply for the license. They provide whatever information, pay whatever fees, and then is there something?
Not for a new firm. For a new firm, they have to submit documentation. They can either mail it in or bring it into our office for a new firm.
You're in Nashville, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. 500 James Robertson Parkway.
Okay. and if they come into the conference next month, they can do it.
Or they could mail it in.
Or they can mail it in.
Mm-hmm.
So
we have a lot of people who mail it in as well.
Time frame, start to finish, then would be what? 30 days?
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Mm-hmm. If that long. We had someone yesterday bring in new firm documentation. They're not active yet, but we had someone from.
That's a administrative process that y'all handle. They don't need to come before us.
No. We verify their zoning to make sure that they're zoned for the area. We make sure that everything is current with their licenses, and then we issue a new firm license.
So it seemed to me that a letter of warning explaining the statute and also explaining their next steps with a time frame would be in order. Somebody wants to make that motion?
Make a motion to accept council's recommendation of letter of warning with specifics on what the respondent needs to have to be legal licensed, and the time frame of this needs to occur within 45 days.
I have a motion by Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Ferris, to send a letter of warning to this respondent, making them aware of the statute, how they could become legal for the state, and giving them 45 days to comply. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. All right, case number 31 is for everybody. This is a discuss. All right, counsel, what would you like us to know?
So in this case, the complainant was a prospective buyer. The transaction didn't go through ultimately, but during the transaction, the respondent had their client quit claim deed the property to them due to like some personal issues, and so the respondent stepped into the role of the seller of the property, but didn't disclose it to the complainant at all during the transaction. And then, let's see. Yeah, so the biggest deal was just the self-dealing, and the commission, I just wanted to get the commission's viewpoints on the civil penalty and the egregiousness or lack thereof. You guys didn't feel like it was of not disclosing their self-interest.
Actors in this particular drama is a seller, and the seller's agent and a buyer.
Yes.
Is the buyer represented?
Buyer, I don't believe they were represented.
Okay. At some point, there's a lien on the property, if I remember the narrative. So the seller's agent decides to quit claim deed the property. Now, like you said, he steps into the role of a seller, and he didn't disclose that fact to the buyer.
Was this transaction completed? Like, did the buyer buy the property?
At the time that the complaint was sent, no, but I think the new information that I got was a little unclear, but I think after the respondent stepped into the role of a seller, they continued to go forward with it. And I believe in this situation,
You hit us with 2 statutes and a rule.
sorry, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't misquoting myself. But yeah, I think the complainant reached back out to withdraw the complaint because now the respondent was kind of being difficult with them during the transaction. So I think they still were discussing the sale of the property, but I'm not sure if it was actually concluded.
Okay, so the fact that the complainant wants to withdraw the complaint, is that what you said?
They mentioned that, but they also followed it up with that the respondent was kind of using this as a way to be difficult during the transaction. But even if they wanted to withdraw their complaint,
Withdrawal.
yes, like even if they wanted to withdraw it, that wasn't an option.
What on this? If he midstream had to quit claim it and was going to follow through with the original contract price, and wasn't trying to manipulate this for his benefit in some way, it means a lot to me. And if he stepped in midstream and then tries to change the rules of the game to the buyer, that's my part. That I don't know if we want to just continue this and try to find out a little bit more on it, or I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are.
Yep. Yeah, that was where some of my thoughts, Commissioner Begley. Do we know if the respondent ultimately ended up? It's still the property that hasn't sold, right?
Unsure.
The complainant wants to purchase the same property presently.
At the time that I wrote the legal report, yes. They still were in the process of negotiating and still talking to the seller, or I guess seller/respondent.
Yeah.
Did the sellers ever complete the quitclaim? It says they were having the sellers sign a quitclaim deed, but it doesn't say they did it.
Yes, the seller completely did the quitclaim deed and gave the property to the respondent.
So what was the sequence of events? I mean, was the quitclaim done months before, like Joe was asking, or was it like at closing?
It was pretty much at closing. They had asked for an extension, and during that time between the extension and the new closing date, the property is quitclaim deed. So I want to say it was probably like.
Does it sound like the respondent, meaning the broker, was trying to help the buyer complete the transaction, and that the quitclaim was a way to solve the problem, or
I believe that's their position.
And that the quitclaim happened so quickly that, I mean, it would seem like that the buyer would know that the broker was in the sequence of title because he or she had been working with the person for however long.
It doesn't shout that there was a really overt self-dealing at hand here.
Correct. I mean, it seemed more like a technicality that they were closing, the attorneys were around, there was a quitclaim that was going to be able to transfer title to a buyer and, this...
remove pressure from the seller.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we postpone this decision till next month and let you try to get a little more information. Just what I'd like to know is the respondent still agreeing to the original contract terms, or have they tried to manipulate those terms in some way? I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I'd kind of like a little more information.
Yeah. Do you have anything that really shows what they're going to gain here, the respondent,
I believe the respondent's position is that they didn't gain anything. They were just doing it to help really everyone out. They were doing it for the seller, the original seller, because they had like some personal issues that they had to kind of sell quickly, and they needed the sale to go through, and they couldn't wait for all the money to come through, and they were helping out the buyer because this just doesn't stop any of the transaction. They don't have to find a new
Right.
home.
But yeah, so it seems like the original seller needed to get out by a certain date, couldn't extend the closing, and the buyer didn't have all the funds to consummate the deal. So the selling broker stepped in, quick claimed it, paid the lien, got the seller out of the way, so that the buyer could have more time to gather funds.
Correct. Yes.
And as far as you know, that transaction hasn't finished yet,
My knowledge.
to your knowledge.
So the respondent bought the bought the property.
I will amend that statement. It is closed, but I'm not entirely sure who bought it. But it did close.
So could we find out what kind of deed the buyer got as a result?
The deed.
Yes.
I think there's a motion by Commissioner Begley. Did we get a second on that?
Didn't hear a second.
Second.
All right. Motion is to continue this until next month. By Commissioner Bagley, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. So I guess this will be represented next month with a determination of whether the deal closed or not. I guess Commissioner Gwynn would like to know what sort of deed. Is that okay?
Terms. See if they change anything additional.
No, just that, if it was a clean deal, he just was helping out. I mean, not that we get into much, but I mean, I can see a picture of getting toward closing, finding out there's a lien in this broker. The seller needs to sell, the buyer wants to buy, the broker helps pay off this lien, but he needs protection too to get his money, so he just quick claims it until the deal's done. But if he gives the seller their proceeds, the buyer gets the original terms of the contract. I mean, he needs an award almost, not a fine. So I mean, he's done two people, a lot of justice there. So, but if he financially gained more than he started that whole deal with from day one, it's a different scenario. So, thank you.
I will now sell it to you for. Okay.
Award.
All right. So case number 31 is done. Case number 34 is also discussed. Counsel.
So this one is, I believe, closer to like a wholesaling issue. So the reason I wanted to discuss this is because I've seen a few more cases that are regarding wholesaling, at least in this month alone. In this situation, the respondent sent a letter to make an offer on some vacant land, but in their letter, they present themselves as a professional real estate investment company. I believe they used the word like realty at some point within the letter. So I believe that it was a violation for advertising, like for unlicensed activity, because they're advertising as if they were a real estate professional with that kind of, I think a normal person would have believed that they had that kind of license or qualifications when they do not. And I guess my reason that I wanted to discuss it is because I kind of want a little bit more guidance for wholesaling and the commission's feelings on what the line is. A lot of them get like right to the line, and it feels like very close to unlicensed activity. But I just like this one was a clear example of one, and I just wanted more guidance kind of going forward. Recommend $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity. I just want to throw that out there.
And that's the 6213-302F. Is that the statute?
Right.
Oh, that's not that right.
We're verifying the F part to make sure that's the correct one.
No, I don't have. Yeah. That's right. No.
What does the statute say about vested interest, or what constitutes a vested interest or ownership?
Like for wholesaling purposes, or
Yeah.
Well, there's some debate on that, but essentially, if you have an assignment right, I believe that you can advertise that assignment right only, but I don't think you can engage in like the negotiations or anything like that. But I don't think anything stopping someone like from offering to buy a property. It's just when you go beyond that, and I feel like you're adding like terms like real estate firm, realty, and adding that into the mix and putting that in the letter.
So is it the term professional real estate investor that you're stuck on versus just real estate investor? Or is it?
It's the real estate. That's like the term real estate.
Let's look at what are the terms in the statutes that cannot be used?
What cannot be used?
Yeah, where's that at?
Advertising is in 1260-02-.12. 1260-02-.12 are the advertising rules. The specific are listed at 3F2.
Yeah.
I have to remember that those terms are specific for licensees.
Right.
So that would not apply to unlicensed person. So the general unlicensed activity statute, if you're not, the statute that requires a license is 6213-301 is the one that requires the requirement. That is the statute that talks about unlicensed practice and the prohibition of it. And generally, when we are talking about what an individual can or cannot do, if we're looking for additional information from that, I look at like the definition of broker, which those are found in 101, 4A and B. And so that's kind of what I believe that Ariel was talking about earlier when we're talking about the actions of what an individual can and cannot do as it relates to license, being unlicensed.
In the third sentence, it says complainant alleges respondent contacted their client via mail to purchase vacant land and assign it to another buyer without a broker's license. So the word assign, I'm wondering if the complainant really didn't understand what the person was doing. I mean, was the person purchasing and closing on vacant land and then reassigning, or was the respondent optioning the land and then without closing trying to assign an option?
I believe the complainant believed that they were trying to assign the right to the land, but I don't.
But that means that they had title to the land. If they assign it, they have a contract. It says,
They have a contract, but not a deed.
well, it doesn't say that there. It says purchase. That means close to me.
Yeah, the actual, like, when I looked at the letter, it was an offer to purchase the actual vacant land, and I believe the respondent said that they wanted to just purchase the property like outright. That wasn't They weren't trying to assign it
But
to someone else.
so they were purchasing it,
For investment.
but it didn't say I'm not going to close. Did it say I'm not going to close unless I can assign it?
No.
It didn't
They,
say that.
they completely denied that they had any intention to assign the property to anyone. They just wanted to buy the property.
Okay.
So they were buying a property in their personal capacity with personal capital.
Yes, but it was a business essentially. Like
Right. So
Yes, but yeah.
so they
Yes.
send out these solicitations for people that have lots of land or property, and they say, will you sell to me?
that's essentially what that is. What they were doing in that. But I just found concerned with like.
So just take it down to bare bones. They're essentially the buyer in the transaction. Right.
Right.
So there are
The issue wasn't with the buying of the property. It was just the contents of the letter.
The
Where
letter
they
to
kind of inferred where they had more involvement with real estate, from my perspective anyway, than they
Was there
did.
any? But there wasn't anything amiss in the purchase agreement.
Didn't appear to be. Which is a very form letter, just asking to purchase the property if they wanted to sell.
At least this narrative in this state fact set, I would say, it sounds like a run-of-the-mill real estate transaction
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
So I don't. Civil penalty. Chair will entertain a motion on case 34. And commissioners.
Has the complainant provided anything more since this was first open?
No, the only issue is that their client received a letter, and that was the entire grievance.
So the complainant states that, or alleges that that they were going to assign, the respondent was going to assign it. The respondent states that their company only purchases for investment properties using personal capital. And then it said, based on the information provided, it appears the respondent was attempting to purchase the property to engage in a future wholesaling transaction. I'm still not seeing anything wrong yet.
I don't either.
That wasn't the issue. Yeah,
I think
wholesaling's not the issue. The only reason I wanted to discuss it is because we've received a lot more
But
cases
they're-
involving wholesaling and
But they're
kinda
not
like them
they're
getting
not a
to the line.
licensee, so they're not subject to our advertisement.
Correct. So I was saying like what violates the if they're acting in a certain capacity. I just
They-
kind of wanted a little bit more guidance as far as like what the commission.
Did they introduce you did they introduce themselves to you as a professional real estate investment company, or was that in the letter to
But that was in the letter.
Okay.
Only reason I wanted, I guess, to discuss it is just the contents of the
Right.
letter.
Since they're
I just-
unlicensed, I mean, there's no fine to, right? I mean,
Is the fact that they use the word assign, is that what's
I think the real estate. I think
It was from the contents of the letter. It just appeared as though if a regular individual got that letter, that they may believe that this person was a real estate agent or was engaging in like license activity, and just didn't want that confusion to
but they didn't.
continue.
Yeah, they didn't put out a license number or
No, it was
anything
just
like that.
just the contents of it, just the way that they had introduced themselves within the letter. That was really about it. Which then, the concern was that no one's allowed to advertise as like a licensed individual when they don't have a valid license, and that's where my recommendation came from.
I agree with that. I mean, you can, as a Tennessean or as a American, anybody, I mean, if you're doing legally, and you want to buy property and sell it down the road for more money and sell it as part of that's great.
Okay.
Just don't say that you're a professional real estate company in the state of Tennessee if you don't have a real estate license. So I agree with that. Just state in your letter, hey, I'm not in the real estate. I'm in the real estate business, but I'm not a licensee. I mean,
That was it was just I just felt like someone reading it could have possibly been confused, and that's
so.
I think what we're seeking is guidance on this unlicensed activity portion. Like this particular case is right up to the line where it appears that it may be unlicensed activity, but it's not fraud in that they don't purport to have a license number or things of that nature. But the appearance of the letter appears that it's coming from a firm. Is that correct, Ariel?
Look, the appearance is like that. It's a real estate, just professional making the offer. That's where the concern was.
Well, if you want to do well in capitalism, you want to look professional. But you can't be putting forth yourself as a real estate firm or a licensee.
So is the respondent in Tennessee? Where are they geographically? Do we know?
One moment.
I guess I'm asking because is there, like, would the commission do a letter of instruction to this private citizen? Or so no, we wouldn't do that.
And would we even find them? Yeah.
I guess either a fine or.
You mean excessive civil?
That's right.
Yeah.
I just don't see any options for buyer beware.
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
Motion by Commissioner Gwynn to dismiss. Is there a second? I have a second. Thank you by Commissioner Tucker. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion to dismiss?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
That motion passes on a 4.
Can we get a roll call vote for this, please?
Let's do a roll call. Ms. Baker, call the roll.
Commissioner Gwynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith? Commissioner Vice Chair Ferris?
No.
Chairman Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Torbett? Commissioner Begley?
Oh.
Commissioner Tucker?
Yes.
No.
Motion fails 3-4.
Motion fails. So, commissioners, I guess, what options do you want to put in place for an unlicensed person? What's the
To add, this respondent is not a Tennessee resident.
not a Tennessee resident? They're not licensed. So, according to the statute, they're not under our jurisdiction.
Can you still send them a letter of warning?
No.
I don't believe.
And then
I
this
believe
clip
the
of the
answer
meeting.
Like we're watching you.
I
Dad
agree
better
with
be careful here.
I agree with you.
I think council's recommendation is to issue a civil penalty for unlicensed activity because the form letter that was sent to the complainant appeared to come from a real estate professional or a real estate firm. So that's the council's recommendation.
Unlicensed.
So it appeared in.
It was a mail solicitation. I assume they broadcast this out to a lot of people.
Yes, I imagine they probably sent that.
We can assume that, but we don't know for certain.
Based on what we know, I move to accept a recommendation for a civil penalty of $1,000.
Second.
Okay, looks like
So I have a motion by Commissioner Ferris to accept council's recommendation for a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity. Seconded by Commissioner Bagley.
So I have a question. I feel like I ask this question often. If they're unlicensed and we offer them a civil penalty, there's no obligation for them to pay the civil penalty. So it's basically
an
a
offer
letter.
to settle.
It's a letter of warning, basically, with an exclamation point.
Well, if you send them an offer for a civil settlement, and counsel, correct me if I misstate this, and they say no, that would trigger a formal hearing.
Right.
For an unlicensed person to come before us, wherever they may be.
But if they don't,
But if they don't, there's a $1,000 civil penalty that
Right,
goes.
but
unpaid.
we go to hearing and then we make our efforts to collect the amount of money. It goes to collections, and we have collectors.
Yeah, and to demonstrate that if you're going to conduct a professional real estate company in the state of Tennessee, do so and make it very obvious to those with whom you're conducting business that you're not licensed, that you're in it for personal gain, that you are, just be very overt with that.
So,
And nothing they've done is illegal.
It's just right on the line.
I think it's
right.
so let me ask you this. They said in the letter that they are a professional real estate investor. Does the company name say anything about real estate? Or is it just
So real estate investing, depending on what it is, you don't necessarily need a license. We have real estate investors all over the state. And people get confused sometimes about what a real estate investor is. And a reminder is that the advertising rules only apply to our licensees. So if someone says they're a real estate investor and there's something that uses the words that we say that you can't, I can't do anything about that company unless they're doing real estate activity, right? Unless we think that they're holding themselves out as a real estate firm. So that's like the kind of issue that we have and the issue there.
So does the person saying they are a professional real estate investor cross the line in terms of saying that they are a real estate firm?
I don't think
It says
so
investment
necessarily.
company.
Yeah, like the only thing I think it really says is a professional real estate investment company is what it says.
I think it's the conduct, what they're doing, what they're offering is what we need to look at to see if that is real estate activity. And so that's when I really would encourage us to look at the specific what's in the letter and compare it to the statute, see if we think that it qualifies as brokering. If we think it is, then that would be unlicensed activity. So let's take out the names real estate investor, take out the name of the company, and look at the conduct and what they're doing, and if you think that should have a license.
Right. Yeah, I'm switching back to.
So I think there's a motion by
There's a
Commissioner.
motion.
Okay.
I withdraw my motion.
You was okay.
I think that there's a lot of poorly written letters in the state of Tennessee, and this is one of them. And for us to sit here and think that this is the only poorly written letter is folly. So it just happens that this one came in front of us because of this complainant. So, I mean, it's hard to say without looking at the
read
letter.
the letter to you all?
Yeah, maybe could one of us view the letter?
How about we read the letter to you all?
Most of it's just
I'd like to see the letterhead and all that.
I can describe it for you.
The letterhead.
Yes, but let's have Ariel read the
read
letter.
the contents of it if you would
All right.
like. Okay. Yeah, so it just has like the respondent, their contact information, the complainant, well, the client who was the
Ariel, is
the
there
complainant.
is there a company name you can share with us, or?
I don't believe I'm able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. But, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
The letterhead.
No, it just has yes, it's just straight to the client. And it just says that we would like to purchase one or both of your properties listed on the next page. We've included a purchase
Hold on,
agreement.
Ariel, hold on, guys.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we are. We're sorry.
Oh, you're good.
We're contemplating having one commissioner abstain and read the letter and provide an opinion.
When we get a 6-6,
Then we might get a tie vote. Yeah. I mean, do the commissioners want to do that? Is that something they want to do, or they just want to continue?
Well, I think it's not a header.
It's not a header. It's just the property owner's name.
It's a letter, correct?
Yeah, it's just a letter to the property owner.
Mailed in the U.S. mail.
I believe so. Yes.
It's a block. It's a block letter, and although there's not a header, it does say ABC Company. Does that make sense?
Company, but not real estate company.
Land Company, ABC Land Company.
All right, keep going.
Thank you.
No problem. And says we've included a purchase agreement on page 2 that outlines our offer for a professional real estate investment company that buys land directly from property owners. We pay cash and close quickly. We sell your property to redacted respondent name. We close quickly. We will close as soon as the title company can complete the paperwork. We will pay all the closing costs, including property tax,
taxes. We're experienced, professional, and the easiest buyer you'll ever deal with. And it says how to give an closed offer. They give a phone number, mail, email to the respondent's email address, or by text. And then they give a number to call if you have any questions. And then they said if there's something wrong with our offer, then they provide another email address to do counter offers. And then the second page is the purchase agreement. But before it ends there, it says, please review page 2 of this letter to see the details of our offer. Not interested in selling, but the land needs attention. Contact us for land clearing, grading, debris removal, etc. We're right here in the middle of the state, and we would be honored to serve you in whatever manner is best for you. And then it is signed with a redacted name, land team. And then
Do we know what sort of business entity it is? Is it a corporation, a LLC? Is it?
I believe it's LLC, but
Also attached to the letter is a purchase agreement.
Is that a TAR form?
No.
no.
Oh,
Just kind of brings down
I could
like
get
the
access to
purchase
it.
price
If
agreement.
memory serves, an LLC can purchase property, but it cannot sell without a broker. If memory serves.
I'm not sure about the specifics for being an LLC, but I think the company can't engage in like real estate transactions unless it's like part of their business already.
Right, but I seem to remember that opinion was brought before us that an LLC may purchase without being a broker.
Because you can purchase, yeah.
But they cannot turn around and sell that property without a broker.
Would you mind rereading that sentence that used the word assign? It said, like at the very first, like we purchase blah 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 and we assign something like that.
Is it? We're a professional real estate investment company that buys land directly from property owners. We pay cash and close quickly. I don't see.
The purchase and sale agreement included the ability to assign, right?
I believe that was a different.
There's the contract doesn't state anything about assigning specifically in it.
Letter did.
I don't believe this letter says anything about assigning it. Just
The complaint did, however, the letter does not. The letter nor the contract does.
Yeah, I mean, the based on the contents of the letter just now, this to me sounds like a company trying to buy land, and if they can't buy it, they'll be glad to bush hog it, clear it.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, they're just trying to make a living.
So, Commissioner Ferris, you withdrew your motion?
Yes.
Commissioners, the floor is open for any motion.
A good discussion because it is up to the line, and
Yeah, it is.
you know, I have, land, ABC Land Company, to me, does not scream brokering land. I worked with a company last week at a property of mine, and it was, that nature, but they do nothing with real estate. It was like everything outdoors or something. Anyway, so I'm not concerned about that right this moment.
Well, I'll make my motion again.
Go ahead and restate it, please.
Yes, I make a motion to dismiss case 34.
Motion to dismiss case 34. Is there a second?
second.
I have a commission by Commissioner Nguyen to dismiss this case, seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
So I'm sorry for this last bit, but I want to address Miss Baker's comment earlier. We don't want this, or I don't want this to set a precedent. Like, we don't want to see this again in the future, because this is something that's been a great discussion, and it's taken a long time for us to decide. So it's not like, this is the way we want it in the future. Don't bring it to us. We want to see it, because I think each case is going to stand there on its own, and we want to make those.
I can assure you that anything that needs to go before the commission comes before the commission, even like earlier, even if it's $200, it comes before the commission when deemed necessary.
I mean, forgive me for picking this, bring this option up. We do have a motion, but
yes.
Is there a sense that the rules or the rules are deficient in a sense that they don't address this kind of niche issue or define clearly for commission staff?
I really think it's on a case-by-case basis,
Right.
just like we've seen today. What does the letter say? Do they appear to be conducting business as a firm? I really think it's on a case-by-case basis, depending on what's in the letter. So it's hard to just do a blanket statement of that nature.
So, I mean, computers do it. It's still our sense that we don't know the rules yet, or we just need to continue hearing these cases. We can talk about that further. Do you have a motion? Since maybe folks are ready to vote, so let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion to dismiss?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion finally carries unanimously.
Thank you. I believe we're on case 38.
Council's recommendation was for litigation monitoring. The line that I'm stuck on is that the respondent did not submit a response. Do we not want to cite them for not responding?
Yes, I just didn't want to conclude with only that one citation if there were additional violations that possibly could have occurred. The reason I said litigation monitoring is because this case is still currently in court. I believe it's in civil court. To kind of get their money back. And I'm hoping that it'll be resolved relatively soon. But I just want to keep an eye on it to see if we had multiple violations, we could assess it once instead of
piecemealing
concluding it with this.
All right, so litigation monitoring, when there's a resolution to the case, it'll come back before us.
Or if it takes too long.
It takes too long.
Can you add another civil penalty for failure to respond?
Yes, I wanted two separate ones, but I don't believe we can break it up that way. I think it has to come all at once.
It has to come at once.
I believe, like, if I, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't assess a civil penalty now and then another one later. It has to.
If we dispose of this now, that's our one shot or one opportunity.
If it's in the complaint, like, that's not related to this, but like for this specific one, if there these specific allegations, like
They didn't respond to this.
they did not respond, which is why I wanted like one violation for that. But if they also didn't remit the money, then that'd be a second violation. But I won't know that until I know more about the court case.
I think it seems, to me, it seems prudent to issue a civil penalty of $1,000 for not responding at this time, to put it on their radar that we are in litigation monitoring with regards to a complaint they have and a court case that they're involved in. And hopefully there's no foul play there. Hopefully they didn't harm this complainant. And but they still didn't respond to us, which they are at fault for. To have the litigation completed and come back to us, we say, oh, we suspend you. Well, that's actually your point. I mean, at that point, if it's such egregious violation that they're convicted in a court of law, then we suspend their license, and I'm not worried about their response at that time.
Yeah, I think it'd be like, so my thought process behind it was if they failed to remit the money and it was kind of proven in a court case, a separate court case, then that can do two separate violations and increase the civil penalty amount, and recommend something later. But my understanding is that you couldn't split it apart and say, like, you failed to respond here. Of course, we can always like assess them for failure to respond, and then I believe if they are convicted, they have to report it to us, and if they fail to do so, then we can come back to it. But
So the failure to respond is one response.
Yes.
And then they might be, depending on the result of this litigation, on the hook for a violation under a separate statute. So it wouldn't be piling on at that point. It would be, there's one offense that we know you didn't, that we know that we should assess a penalty for, versus the second violation where we might. I don't want to pile on either, but it just seems like.
Also, 3 months, I want to say, oh, by the way, you didn't respond in January to this.
Yeah. Litigation can go on for months.
Right. Let them know now they're not responding.
So is there a motion? Does the Chair Commission want to make a motion for consideration? Both commissioners. All commissioners.
So if they're found guilty, they would have to report that to us. So we can go ahead and make a civil penalty for failure to automatically get
fail to report it.
Okay,
I'll make a motion that we assess a civil penalty of $1,000 for failure to respond.
Do litigation monitoring for the second offense in the motion, or can we do that separately?
Those that have to do litigation.
Is on them to report to us. Litigation monitoring means that they have to check in with us on the progress of their case.
I believe we send them, and we ask them to sign something saying that they'll keep us up to date on their case.
I would think if we
Ms. Torbett, Ms. Commissioner, if you could speak closer to your mic.
Sorry. My thinking is if we assess a civil penalty, they're going to respond in one way or another. And then maybe we will get more information about what happened.
Litigation monitoring is kind of just like a wait and see kind of what happens. And then
Right.
if it takes too long, essentially if it would take too long, I would just make a request for an investigator to kind of look at the case to see how far along we are. And then I can always represent it, and the civil penalty for failure to respond can still apply.
So I guess the root of my question is, do you need a motion for both the failure to respond and the civil penalty for that, and then separately litigation monitoring for the other possible violation of the statute?
I think it's one of
I
the
don't think we
other.
can do both.
Okay, yes, one or the other.
So if the litigation monitoring, so we're not going to monitor their litigation. So if they're convicted, they report to us that they were convicted.
They have 60 days.
If they aren't convicted, there's no point in monitoring it anyway. So I'm very comfortable with the failure to respond because I feel like we will hear more about this. Because if they don't report and then something happens and then it comes to us and they didn't report, that's a whole nother problem.
Got a question before we vote.
Let me just make sure, restate for the record. I have a motion to assess a civil penalty of $1,000 for failure to respond by Commissioner Torbett. Who was the second? Seconded by Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Nguyen, go ahead.
Yes. The sentence talking about failure to respond says, but the complaint was sent via certified mail and it was returned with a signature, but counsel was unable to determine the name signed, but it was received. If you'd been able to determine the name signed, does that count as a response?
If it goes to the address that we have on file for the respondent and it does not come back as undelivered, I believe that counts as proper service for our purposes.
Proper service, but what about a response?
No. I don't believe that there's any bearing on that.
All right, so it should have just said respondent did not submit a response, period. Correct.
Trying to give more
Okay, all right,
yeah.
okay.
Can I ask counsel one more question? So this is a civil case, not a criminal case.
I would
So-
just have both going on, like civil like I think they got some kind of
I was like, this respondent's in their own private hell right now, but
yeah. I think they have a lot going on. I think the complainant kind of like put it to whoever would kind of listen. I think like a potential theft
On this particular
and then
complaint,
contract breach of contract.
on this particular complaint, it's a civil case. They're suing for their commission, which is not a criminal offense. They'll settle that some way outside of criminal court, probably.
They could sue in criminal court for like fraud or theft or some similar charge. But for civil, it'd be like a breach of contract.
My question is, if it's civil only, we won't get notified. If they settle this, we wouldn't get notified. It's only if it's prosecuted criminally.
Found guilty.
And they're found guilty. Whereas if we do litigation monitoring and we find out they've done something civilly wrong, we would still know.
Have you seen a copy of the contract that shows what % they were supposed to get here?
That would be actually.
Doesn't say, it just seems as if that's the case.
Well, if it's a commission dispute and it's a civil case, the commission doesn't settle. That's in the rule. So if it comes back to us criminal, that's something that we'll need to know. So civilly, it doesn't really matter because we don't. The rule specifically states that the commission does not intervene in commission disputes.
Well, from what I'm seeing in number 38, there's nothing that says this is in a criminal.
I think what Ariel is saying, that she has information that there may be a criminal element involved. It may not be in the summary though.
I think we have a motion.
You have a motion.
Call the question.
Call the question. Okay, that's not debatable. The question has been called. Restate the motion. The motion is to assess a civil penalty of $1,000 for failure to respond. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. For further action on case 38, we can dispose of that. Case 44 is next. This is mine. This is a question about revolving around the dispersal of earnest money. The only thing I want to know is the earnest money dispersed within required time, 21 days?
A little bit over that. I think there was an issue in this situation with the respondent's client, like not signing some documentation to release the money for some reason, but it was released. I think it was roughly over 30 days.
Who was holding it? Was it the title company that was holding it?
Yes, the respondent didn't have it. They did have a mutual release agreement that was signed.
Okay. I have no quarrel with council's recommendation if there could be a motion. I have a motion by Commissioner Smith to accept council's recommendation on case number 44, seconded by Commissioner Torbett. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 53.
49.
49. 49. Case number 49. Go ahead, DJ.
I move to make the civil penalty $1,000 and have the respondent complete 6 hours education, namely the core course, within 180 days. It can count towards their CE.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ferris to increase the civil penalty to $1,000 and require the core course of 6 hours that will be allowed to count for their continuing education under 180 days. And that requirement to be completed within 180 days. That motion was seconded by Commissioner Tucker. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. That motion carries unanimously. Number 52. Did you think that was yours, Dave?
Yeah, I just, my note for this one was, is there more at stake here in this case? It just seems that there's a huge failure to do reasonable skill and care and due diligence. There's a big failure to do their due diligence to exercise reasonable skill and care under 62-13-403. So my recommendation would increase to 1,000, but I feel like, is there more at play here? Going back to our assignment, our questions, and our discussion from a few cases ago, I don't know. I mean, who is this area? Can you kind of give us another synopsis of this, more than it's in the summary, please?
So in this one, the complainant was, they're a real estate professional, and they engaged with the respondent, who has a real estate firm. And in this situation, they're like the respondent's client. The respondent states that they had all the valid ownership rights. The complainant says that there's someone who has an assignment right that was a party to the contract, and the name was written in there multiple times. The assigning party that they were not made aware of, and so they believed that the respondent's client and the assignment person was the same person, but they weren't. And then during the transaction, the respondent says that the complainant was the one who drafted all of the pretty much offer agreements and all the documents for the transaction, and didn't realize that a different party's name was in the contracts. So the person with the assignment, like contract or alleged contract of assignment, they didn't notice at all that that name was all throughout the contract. And so I recommended that they didn't do their due diligence and care, because an entire party's there and on multiple documents that they didn't notice, and they said that the assignment individual is not related to them in any way, shape, or form.
But did the complainant's client buyer, did they end up closing on the property?
I do not believe so. I think the issue with all this kind of made it an issue for the complainant. I think they talked to their client, and they're like, "This is."
Did the respondent's client, did they sell the property?
I believe they listed it, and the respondent's belief is that they did it like in good faith, because from their knowledge, they have the valid ownership in the property that they listed.
And the respondent's client was the person who had the assignment rights, not the owner.
No, the assignment right person is, by the respondent's admission, no one that they know. So the respondent is saying that there is no assignment, that their client is the rightful owner of the property. Seller. Yeah, the respondent's client is the seller, and the complainant was the prospective buyer in this situation. But the buyer was saying that there's someone with an assignment to this property that they weren't aware of, and that assignment individual's name is in all the contracts. The respondent saying that the complainant put that name in there, and they don't know who that person is because they weren't related to their firm. They didn't have any dealings with that individual.
So they're saying they had an accepted contract and then someone added names to the contract after it was signed? Is
They
that
only
what?
didn't even notice that, like, the assignment individual's name was even in any of the documents. They made it all the way to the complaint, like until the complaint happened is when they went back and realized a different name was in the contract that wasn't part of the transaction at all.
I mean, the respondent stating all the offers and addendums were prepared by the complainant. And the complainant says that they were told that the buyer needed to speak directly to the seller. And so the seller, I'm presuming, told the buyer, the seller is, quote, property company. And so the buyer sends the offer as the seller's name being property company. I mean, why is that? I mean, that might be the case. Like if I have a property.
And council's contention is that reasonable skill and care is because the agent didn't notice that there was an additional party at a minimum to the transaction. And that's where the failure to exercise reasonable skill and care comes in.
I'm just curious. Is this residential, commercial, or land?
Property that was for sale. Yes. I'll confirm in a minute, but I think it was a residential property, but I can confirm for you.
What was within the power of attorney? Did you see that?
I don't believe they included that at all.
Okay, so the respondent says they're not affiliated with the capital P, capital C, the property company, and they listed the property with a valid power of attorney. So did this individual have a power of attorney to list property owned by the property company of which they're a part of?
They're stating that they had all the legal rights to list the property. They're saying there was no assignment portion to it from their perspective of it. I believe that all the contracts, though, did have the assignment party's name and like listed within the contracts. Okay. Yes, just to confirm, it was a residential property. It's a home.
Does Commissioner Ferris or any other commissioner feel necessary to go ahead and put a motion on the floor for consideration?
We'll go ahead, Steve.
Commissioner.
I'll make a motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion to accept council's recommendation on case number 52. Made by Commissioner Gwynn, seconded by Commissioner Ferris. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. I pulled case number 53, but my question has since been answered, so I will entertain a motion on case number 53.
Motion to accept council close and flag.
Motion by Commissioner Corbett to close and flag case number 53. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously. Case number 54, just like 53, my questions have been answered. I will entertain a motion.
I don't believe 54. I think that was part of the consent agenda, if I'm not
Very good.
mistaken.
Okay, I was overzealous. Okay, that concludes the legal and consent agenda. And there's something about ALJ alone cases.
Yes,
Counsel?
one thing. Hopefully it'll be very brief. So, for Commissioner Ferris, I know that there are two areas that we currently have cases that are set alone that are
heard outside of the commission, and those are E&O complaints and unlicensed activity matters. So the commission has the ability to delegate certain matters to just be heard by an administrative law judge and without you. So I wanted to ask if there was one other area that could be sent to an administrative law judge to be heard alone. And those are cases where individuals have failed to respond to complaints. We've had a large influx of individuals that just have not submitted responses. And I wanted to know what your thoughts were on whether you wanted full commission to convene for those complaints, or if you think that's a matter an ALJ could hear on their own.
Director of opinion.
What would happen if it went to an administrative law judge?
You guys just wouldn't hear it, so it would be a regular hearing, and then the administrative law judge would be the fact finder. So they would make make the final decision for the matter.
They would just say.
Right. So they would hand out a civil or not.
So, but that wouldn't be a consent order. That would be a finding by
So
the court.
that would be if the matter, if they decided not to sign a consent order and it went to hearing, then it would. This is at the hearing stage, formal hearing stage. So the administrative law judge would decide whether a civil penalty, suspension, revocation, class, or whatever is warranted or not. They would be the person making that decision.
We would still assess the civil penalty.
Right. So it would still come to you as usual on the complaints. It's just that if we were unable to settle the complaint, meaning the individual decides they don't want to sign the consent order, and we have to go to hearing, it would just go before an administrative law judge, and it would not come before you as a full commission.
So commissioners, do we have a strong desire to sit and hear formal hearings about failure to respond cases?
Not really, but I don't want the state to incur more cost if they have to have a judge.
Oh no, so there would still be a hearing either way. So it would just be whether you guys want to hear those cases or you would just want a judge to hear it.
Yeah, it would be less because they wouldn't have to reimburse us.
Yeah, and then, okay, that's my answer.
So how many cases do we give to an administrative law judge a month, or is it?
It really just depends. Like I currently I have 4 cases pending right now, and one of them is coming before you. The other 3 are for administrative law judge. So technically, if you guys were to make this decision, one of my cases, part of it is failure to respond. So that you'll still hear part of that because it's already in the motions to be heard by you. But those cases, it just really depends.
So somebody's got to deal with it, right?
Yeah, it has to be
So
dealt with.
it's either us or the judge.
Or the judge.
Or both of us.
So who's more efficient, us or the judge?
Honestly, it's easier to get set by an administrative law judge alone because those hearings can be whenever. They don't have to. Your hearings are set with your meetings. I could have an administrative law judge hearing on any day of the week, and those can be on WebEx. So we're able to have a lot more hearings with more flexibility.
Well, it sounds like I need a motion to allow staff to hear those cases alone. I don't know how to put the verbiage.
You would be allowing to delegate failure to respond cases to administrative law judge.
Can we give? I don't know how you want to, the respondent can they have the ultimate option to come in front of us? So, if you got an ALJ that wasn't friendly and someone had thought they weren't getting a fair shake and wanted to bring their case to us, is there an option where we say it's ALJ most of the time, but if somebody's like, no, I want to see the commission, I want them to hear my story.
They would go to a regular appeals.
Well, there's still an appeals process, so if they don't like what the administrative law judge has provided to them, then that way.
It would be
So
to, it
their
would be
appeal
to,
right, their appeal rights both ways.
So, but it would be to the court, not to us.
Right, so it goes to Chancery Court at that point, but that's the same way that if they didn't like the decision that was given by the commission, then it would go to Chancery Court.
Yeah, it's out of our hands once it goes to the ALJ.
If we vote this way, we're taking all formal hearings basically out of our hands.
No, you're only taking formal hearings where the underlying issue is when a respondent has failed to respond to it. That's it.
I personally think it's a good idea.
It's a great idea.
Usually usually people sign the consent orders and we're done, but we've had a lot of people that are not. So we've had a large influx of these that are going to have to go to hearing. So that's why it's just something I brought to you. I think it's a good move, and I think it'll save you a lot of time, and it'll save us a lot of time. Okay,
I'll make a motion. Can I make a motion? I'll make a motion that failure to respond cases up with
are delegated to the administrative law judge.
Can you speak into your mic, please?
make a motion that failure to respond cases are delegated to the administrative law judge.
I have a motion by Commissioner Torbett to delegate failure to respond cases to administrative law judge. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Bagley. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. That's all.
Anything on the agenda for commission discussion?
I have a couple of announcements, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
The Tennessee Next Summit on February 20th is at 2 o'clock. I know we have a commission meeting that morning. Would you all like us to provide lunch so we're not in a rush when we go over to the Tennessee Next Summit? Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I think it's also important for commissioners to know that we are meeting on that Tuesday, traveling on Monday. So
Yes, travel on Monday, meeting on Tuesday. And in the event that there is a hearing, it will be on February 21st. So please keep that in mind. We think we will have a hearing. We are unsure. But just please keep that in mind. If there is a hearing, it will be on February 21st. We will also be giving out the Bill Toon Award during the Tennessee Realtors Board of Directors meeting. The first few minutes of that meeting will be issuing the Bill Toon Award. So after the panel, if you could stick around for a moment or two, so we can issue that award to last year's recipient. Oh, and lastly, for those folks joining us in person, please don't forget to sign out for CE credit. That's all I had. Thank you.
the Bill Toon Award is being awarded to who?
Marcia Franks.
Thank you. It was like a chorus of questions. Who is it? Who is it?
Y'all voted on Marcia Franks.
I've got a question about something that came up while I was doing my core course at the end of the year. This may be a question for Ross. It may be a question for Anna, but I was doing on the CE shop. I was completing my 6-hour core course. Sorry to take more of your time, Miss Matlock, about this. But it says here, on April 11th, 2018, the Tennessee Real Estate Commission voted to no longer automatically open a corresponding complaint against principal brokers when a complaint is filed against an affiliated license. This change became effective May 1st, 2018. Instead, the principal broker now receives a notice of the complaint and is given an opportunity to respond and provide any information required. Depending on the nature of the complaint, however, the commission may decide to sanction the broker for failure to supervise. And owing to Commissioner Grease, who was on this when I came on board in 2020, we can do whatever we want. But here lately, since I've been on the commission only a couple of years, we do begin to open cases simultaneously. So when did that kind of become the policy again? Because this states that in 2018, TREC voted we're not going to automatically open a corresponding case, and
So it used to be that whenever a complaint was opened against an affiliate broker, another complaint was automatically opened against the principal broker. Every single complaint. So that stopped, meaning that just a complaint was opened against the principal broker, the affiliate broker, and the principal broker, they get an email now. So now what you do is you get the complaints, and sometimes you decide to open complaints against the principal brokers if you decide if it's warranted.
Okay.
So
Automatic.
Yeah.
instead of it being automatic,
It seems like it's been a lot more automatic lately, but
none of them are automatic.
Okay.
No, we don't automatically open any
that's
complaints
the reality, I guess.
against principal
Yeah.
brokers. The only complaints that are automatic against principal brokers would be those that are related to E&O, and that's statutorily required.
Thank you. Move to adjourn.
Without objection, the January meeting is adjourned. Y'all drive safe. Peace.